At a seminar in Abuja, the judiciary was urged to hold electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, accountable for the 112 electricity-related deaths and 95 injuries recorded in 2024. The 2025 National Seminar on Regulations in the Electricity Power Sector for Judicial Officers was organized by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, in collaboration with the National Judicial Institute, NJI. The seminar with the theme, Navigating the Dynamics of Nigeria's Evolving Electricity Sector, addressed regulatory companies, legal enforcement and safety issues in the industry. Well, this and more will form the basis of our discussion today. Glad to have you join us on Nigeria Today. I'm Ikaria Clinton. Now, joining me in the studio for the conversation is Bode Fadipe. He's an electricity expert. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, viewers.
Also joining us via Zoom is Jide Ujo, a public affairs analyst. Jide, it's good to have you on Nigeria Today.
It's my pleasure, Ikaria. Good evening, Nigerians.
So I'll start with you, Bode. The Chief Justice of Nigeria had urged the judiciary to hold the distribution companies accountable for electricity-related deaths and injuries that happened in 2024. Of course, I know quite a lot of persons have different issues, different things to say about this, but I want to hear from you as an electricity expert. Can you conceptualize for us the statement by the CJN?
Okay, thank you very much. I think first and foremost, and I speak very sincerely, we must commend NEC for taking the initiative or for seizing the initiative to have this, what I call KSS, knowledge sharing session with the judiciary, because even though the privatization is 10 years old, we must admit the fact that it is still in an evolutionary process. And with profound respect to their lordships, quite a number of them, we still need a lot of sharing of that knowledge concerning the power sector, so that when they make their pronouncement, when they make their order will be one that will enhance the growth and development, the required progress that the power sector needs. And I give you a typical example. There was a time a man approached the court in Kogi State asking for an injunction over the release of meters, if not for the fact that AEDC, and I speak this to their credit, if not for the fact that AEDC had had a knowledge sharing session with the judiciary in Kogi State in FCT, his lordship would have possibly giving that injunction, and the consequence would have reverberated all over the country. And I remember that the case of Man is also another example where the Federal High Court in Lagos gave an injunction, and it affected the power sector extensively. So we must give that credit to NEC for seizing the initiative, or for taking the initiative to have that KSS session with the judiciary. Now, having said that, again, what my lord the CJN said, you cannot remove it from her. In law, there is what we call res ipsa loquitur. When they say hold the DISCOs responsible, what res ipsa loquitur means is the fact speaks for itself. Who else would you have held responsible if not the DISCOs? In any case, death in the power sector can occur from about 3 different angles. One, the negligence of the DISCO itself or the operator. In law, there is what you call the rule of Rylance and Fletcher. I don't want to go into too many technical details, legal details. But anyone who is keeping a lethal item has a responsibility to make sure that it doesn't become a source of danger to any other person. There is what is called the duty of care. Anyone who is managing that lethal item, or the public or any other person, that duty of care responsibility. So it is either the debt is coming as a result of the negligent act of the DisCo, or the negligent act of the end user or the product user, which is you and I, or maybe as a result of an attempt to steal, which is vandalism, theft of cable, and all of those things. So debt could come from those three areas. I don't know which category the 112 that my lord the CGN mentioned, because for her to come into the public space as the head of the third arm of government, and for NEC to even be able to move her to come and speak there, is a great, I mean, we must give that credit to NEC, because the CGN is not just somebody you can pick at any time and say come and speak. And for her to make that, it's almost like a ruling. I know that, I mean, I don't want to go into too many technical details about law again, but the point I'm trying to make is that what the CGN has said, you can take it to the bank.
Okay, I will have to stop it there, buddy, so that Jide can come in here. Now, Jide, I want your own perception. I want to hear from you what you think, how you perceive the statement by the CGN.
Well, I think the CGN was quite on point with that revelation. It came to me as a rude shock and as a surprise, even though the CGN was quoting the National Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. So it wasn't as if it was a judicial intervention or judicial inquiry that revealed those 112 deaths and 95 injuries. But sure, what I make of all of this is that it is good that we are taking data seriously. In time past, we do not have data over anything, or we rely heavily on data from foreign institutions like World Bank, like IMF, like other international bodies, as if we don't have agencies and we don't have agencies in the country that can do similar things. So it shows that we are taking statistics very seriously. But to me, it's very alarming that we are recording over 100 deaths, either due to negligence or due to other factors that Bode has spoken to. And Bode was very on point when he made that tripartite categorization of how the 112 deaths could have come about. First, maybe it's energy theft. Secondly, maybe it was even in an attempt to steal some of the facilities of the electricity distribution companies, or due to negligence of the DisCos distribution companies. But I think irrespective of how those deaths came about, the most important thing is justice to the victims, particularly if they belong to the third category, which is those deaths that are occurred as a result of negligence on the part of the distribution companies. Because in the event that somebody got electrocuted because he was trying to steal from the electricity transformer or was trying to vandalize the transmission towers, that nobody will call for compensations or justice for such an individual. In fact, many people will celebrate the person's death and say it serves him or her right. And if you are involved in energy theft, of course, whatever you see, you take, as they say in local parlance. But for the deaths that happen as a result of negligence, and I have to speak sincerely to this, electricity distribution company are not up and doing in terms of, how they fix electricity challenge. Let me give you instance. I've been in 2 different communities where the electricity pole obviously is on the way to falling down. This thing is gradual. One of such happens even in front of my residence in Kubwa, here in Abuja, where the pole was almost falling, and the distribution company people were seeing that this is a danger about to happen or accident about to happen. What stops them from effectively and promptly replacing that pole or putting it back in place? That one is not to be borne. That responsibility should not be borne by the consumer. It is those who are supplying the electricity, given that this is a business from which they are making profit, they are supposed to be prompt. The irony of it was that even when my landlord at that time decided to go and buy a pole for replacement, they said, no, you should not go. You should bring the money. You should bring the money, and that they will not install the pole because he didn't channel the money through them. So there is issue of negligence because of corrupt practices. I want to take it that. So, and there have been instances where electricity wire will snap and will lay across the road or fall on people's homes, and death or electrocution could come as a result of that. That is negligence on the part of the electricity distribution company, because some of these things have been happening and their attention have been called to it, but they will refuse to come because they were waiting for them to be financially induced before they can come. Many a time.
Jide, I have to stop you here now so that we also hear from Bode. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you on some of the issues you raised there. Now, for us to put the statement of the CJN in perspective, now the report actually came from NERC. It said the latest data of the fatalities says it's a slightly improvement for what we had in 2023, which was 115 deaths, which of course decreased this time in 2024 to 112 deaths, and of course 95 injuries. And they cited the primary causes, which was stated as vandalism, snapped wires, illegal conditions, connection, unsafe working conditions. They said and they linked it to discourse negligence. That was according to the report by NERC. Yes. So, given this information, how important, because from what I gather from the CJN, we need sanity in the, in the electricity sector. Yes. Now, how important is it for us to sanitize the electricity sector?
Unfortunately, Jide could not, let me put it this way. I agree with everything that Jide said, but I'll give you two typical examples. Very, very bad examples. One happened in Lokoja. The wire snapped and fell on a bike, an Okada, and the owner of the Okada ran to the place in an attempt to rescue the Okada. He got trapped, electrocuted. A concerned wife who had no knowledge, who was ignorant, thought he could rescue the husband. She got electrocuted. So the two of them died. That's one. Two, this one happened in Abuja here. I can't remember the place, whether Gwagwalada or Kuje or somewhere. A pregnant woman was walking on the road with her son, and the wire had snapped and was lying on the ground. Unfortunately, the electricity did not, the line did not, I'm looking for our best to explain it. There was still electricity on the line, because once there is a contact with a foreign body, the line is supposed to go off by itself. It's programmed to trip, it's programmed to go off. If it did not go off, it means that the tripping unit or the equipment that is supposed to cut off supply must be malfunctioning. That day, it was malfunctioning. This woman was coming with her son, pregnant woman, and the son stepped on a live wire, got electrocuted. A concerned mother tried to rescue the son. At least 2 people died. A pregnant woman, the son, and the fetus that she was carrying. What am I trying to say? you cannot overstate the importance of safety in the power sector, because electricity is a very good servant. We can enjoy it now, but if for any reason you contravene any of the rules, you may not be alive to tell the story. It's an extremely obedient servant, but a terrible master. So you must do everything, including making sure that you have a rubber foot mat in front of your freezer, or even when you are ironing, because there could be any problem at that point in time. And the moment you are standing on the ground and you touch a naked wire, you become a conductor immediately. So electricity is so important, is so little, that you must do everything to ensure that you are standing on safe ground. And this is why the discourse must make sure that to the last point, they must ensure that their product is in safe condition for the use of the public. That's why I mentioned the duty of care. The discourse, all the end users, that duty of care to make sure that the product that they are giving to the customers is not something that we keep. They didn't come to sell the product because they want to kill people. They came to sell the product that people may have comfort. So it should not be a source of danger to them. If for any reason there is a contravention, they must pay compensation. However, I have also seen a situation where people try to be smart, and this one happened in a state within Abuja franchise. I won't mention the name of the state. This boy died, little boy, and they went to go and keep him by a feeder pillar. There is no way anybody will suffer electricity even at the level of your domestic use in the house, that you will not see the effect on that person. On this boy, there was no single injury. The dress was not burnt. The boy did not foam from the mouth. There was no struggle. So you see that there are some things we do in this country that does not align with common sense, ethics, and morals. It doesn't align. Why would you, because you want to get compensated, go and keep the corpse of a dead boy by an electrical appliance because they saw the feeder pillar open? So this is one point I must make here. Discos must make sure that their equipment are put in safe condition. One, by making sure they fence the substations and to ensure that nobody strays into it and nobody comes out of the place without due permission and without the expertise to manage such equipment. So the discos have a duty of care. Is an indebtedness that they owe the public, because they are the ones that are the managers of the little item. They have the expertise to manage it. If for any reason they are negligent in their conduct, they must pay heavily for it.
Okay, thank you very much, Bode. Now, Jide, quite a lot have been said. Of course, this course, they have a lot of responsibility. But now, what are your recommendations, to ensure that legal and moral obligation to protect citizens are not just only acknowledged, but are enforced?
You see, the only way this could be enforced is what my Lord Chief Justice of Nigeria has said. Because enforcement, the court have to be up and doing to ensure that substantial justice is done to victims of negligence of electricity distribution companies. Do you know, Ukeria, the gargantuan losses Nigerians incur as a result of power surges, which has burnt down many businesses? And maybe because there are no fatalities, that is not in the statistics. We need to have statistics that talks to how power surges and negligence on the part of the distribution companies also, destroy home appliances and cause fire disasters, leading to loss of lives and loss of property. And until the court starts imposing heavy fines on these electricity distribution companies, whether there are fatalities or not, whether it's just injuries or not, those 95 injuries that was alluded to in this current 2024 report, do we know whether some of those injuries have led to permanent disability of the victims? So many people who are breadwinners become disabled as a result of negligence of the electricity distribution company. The best way to enforce this is, one, victims of electricity distribution negligence should press charges. They should go to court and get their lawyers to file suit demanding for heavy compensation. There was a case which was also featured on your station, Newsline, where somebody, a staff of one of the electricity distribution company on active duty, mounted a pole to go and rectify.
It appears we've, okay. Jide, are you still there? Okay, it's like we've lost him due to network hitch. Now, of course, you had. Okay, Jide, you were saying. You continue. We can hear you now.
So what I'm saying is that there was a story featured on Newsline of one of the electricity distribution company staff who was on the pole to rectify fault. And unfortunately, one of his colleagues that didn't know he was up there decided to switch on the lights that had previously been switched off. And the guy was not paid compensation. He has to go to the National Assembly, Public Complaints Committee of the National Assembly, who now said he should be paid compensation of about 30 million. This happened like 2 years ago. So until when these calls are made to pay heavy fines and compensations, not just for fatalities, but also for destruction, spoiling, the destruction of home appliances, and causing fire incidents in people's home, they will not sit up. The Servicom, there is a Servicom service, this agency that is supposed to ensure about service delivery. What are they doing? They should be in the forefront to ensure compliance. And National Electricity Regulatory Commission should not just be reeling out statistics. What have they done to also enforce the rights of citizens who have been victims of negligence? Because, as I said earlier on, the other two categories does not come into issue of justice or demand for justice or whatever. If you go and steal electricity and you get killed, or you are trying to destroy or vandalize transformers or transmission towers, that one does not concern me.
Thank you very much, Jide. Thank you. Of course, quite a lot of concerns have been raised by Jide there. But now, Bode, how can citizens be better informed of their legal rights? Of course, before you go for the rights, you have to know.
Yeah.
Now, how can they be better informed of their legal rights and how to go about it?
I think one way of doing it is what NTA is doing. I don't know how many people are watching NTA. I know that it used to be 30 million. I don't know that has gone beyond 30 million. But
quite a lot of people are watching. No, a lot of people are watching.
I agree with you. Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is that education. We are here this evening putting the whips on the back of the discourse, but you still find a lot of people who do the wrong thing. For instance, there is what you call setback from HT lines, where how close your house ought to be, or put in another form, how far your house ought to be from any, whether 11 kV, whether 33 kV, or whether the transmission lines that run through the thick bushes and even the ones. So I'll give you an example. Very unfortunate incident again during the COVID-19 sit-at-home period. The children were not going to school, and this man felt, okay, since children are not going to school, let me take. He is a welder. Let me take my son out to go and teach him my trade. Unfortunately, his business was right under an 11 kV line. The young boy, innocently took the pole, metal pole, raised it up, and it had contact, the 2 hands were amputated. Young boy. Another one happened, I think, in Guarimpa or somewhere, or Life Camp.
But I would have loved you to give us more instances, but right now, this is where we have to wrap it. This is really...
honestly,
thank you.
So it's education, media education, public enlightenment, and I'm sure we will be able to get there.
Thank you very much, Bode Fadikpe, electricity expert. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective on the program. And we also had Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst that joined us via Zoom. Jide, thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you for being part of the program. I'm Eucharia Clinton. Goodbye.